What should our intro be?
I don't know.
What's going on, everybody? Today I'm joined by Ewan from Ewan Reviews. Ewan, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about Werewolf by Night. And guys, before we get started, if you enjoy the rest of this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as consider turning on that notification bell to get notified whenever new videos like this go live. And all of Ewan's info will be linked in the description. The link to his channel, all that good stuff is gonna be linked in the description, so make sure to check out that. But for starters, Ewan, give me your overall thoughts. What are your overall thoughts on Werewolf by Night?
So I went into this and I have not been keeping up on the MCU shows, I'll be completely honest. I've been keeping up with the movies, but not the shows. But I was really interested in this because I'm a huge horror fan and also of any type of monster stuff, obviously, including werewolves. So when it was like the surprise screening at Fantastic Fest or whatever, and everyone was saying it was great, I was really excited. And yeah, at least I think they're right. I really love this. I think this is exactly what the MCU should be doing. I thought it was great.
And I think that's where we kind of have different opinions, because with you and someone who loved it, I would just say I really liked it. I think it was good. It was a cool outing for the MCU. I'll get into, like, I obviously have problems with it, and I don't know if you have any specific problems with it. But start off with our positives. Do you have any pretty positive thoughts about the show or the movie? What do you ever want to call it?
Whatever it's TV special, whatever people are calling
Exactly.
it. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed most of it. I would say the first thing that really, like, right away stood out to me was the cinematography. The cinematographer is Zoe White. I looked that up earlier because I was blown away by the cinematography, and because this is Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, Giacchino, yeah.
Yeah, and he's known for his scores. I mean, he did Up, maybe Ratatouille. He did all the Spider-Man movies in the MCU. He did the Batman earlier this year. He's
So talented.
He is amazing, but this is like the first real time where he's been behind the camera. And I mean, I think this thing looks gorgeous. I'm a sucker for these black and white movies, especially if they're like newer, like The Lighthouse too. But it just really shined, and the fact that the only real color for are we talking spoilers or not?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we will be. We'll go into spoiler territory. Like, there isn't much of it, but at the end of the special, I know you're talking about. You can go into it.
So basically, there's like red throughout the entire special. That's like the only real color, and then at the end it goes into full color. But I just thought that alone looked gorgeous, and it also helped with a lot of the action I felt, but I'll rant about that later.
I was really looking forward to starting it, and then right off the bat, when it starts in that, like, kind of the spin on the Marvel Studios intro, I thought that was a little cool.
I love that.
And it was, I like that they did that, because it obviously, like, it knows what it is, and it's kind of playing into even just like the Marvel logo, even just that in and of itself, I thought was cool.
I agree. I think that's awesome, and because it kind of again has that little take on the I don't know, 30s 40s kind of style of movies intro too. I thought it was a nice mix.
And just like overall, it feels just the entire, 50 minutes or so, it feels very fresh and unique. But specifically when you're talking about MCU stuff, because there's a lot of stuff about this that makes it feel unique when comparing it to like a monster, like, or a B movie like that you talk about that you like. I think it's very similar to those, and it definitely takes inspiration from some of those movies, like Frankenstein. Like, I'm sure you've seen more than I have.
Yeah, the Wolfman, obviously, with werewolves.
Yeah. And so, but even just like the violence, it ups the violence for like Marvel standards. It's not like a gore fest, but it has a couple cool kills in it, and I was pretty impressed on that. And what about you?
When I saw some of the kills here, I thought they were great, and because of the black and white, it added more grit for me, just because it kind of like had your brain thinking like, what is that blood? Is that like this? Is that like just maybe that's just me being crazy, but I thought the kills here were awesome, because Marvel, at times can be a little bit bloody, but it's never been like crazy. And I think this film balanced some of those like off-screen kills well with some of the I'll cut your throat type things. So I thought the balance of that was great, and the violence, like, it was so well handled here. It didn't feel like it was playing down to kids or anything.
Yeah, and if anything, like, I think this, if you're like a parent and you're hesitant about showing this to your kid, I think this is for like probably like maybe 13 or up, like around that age. I feel like It's kind of, if you want to get your kids like into like, if your kids are a fan of that monster level B horror kind of stuff, I think this would be a good, especially if they're a fan of the MCU, this would be a cool little step. And if you're a fan of those monster movies, you will like this movie just because of everything I've been talking about, right?
Yeah, it takes clear inspiration from them, but
Yeah.
it's not like a rip-off of them, because it still has the MCU feel. And one thing, I don't know if you might disagree with me on this, but one thing I appreciated is that it didn't rely on cameos, it didn't rely on nostalgia, which I don't have a problem. Okay, I love Spider-Man No Way Home and other movies like that,
100%.
but it did not rely on anything. To my knowledge, there wasn't any big cameos in that. They're just characters from the comics before, but there was no time where Nick Fury showed up. It's like, you're coming with me, like none of that stuff, which I also really appreciated.
And it's funny, like I was like any Marvel fan, I skipped through the credits, and I was watching them, and I was gonna see if there was any after screen or whatever, if there's end credits, and there was nothing, which was good. Even just like, maybe I missed them, but I didn't even see too many Easter eggs throughout. Maybe that's just not like the die-hard like comic fan in me talking. Like, I'm really not that type of person that would have pointed something out, but I think if there was something that was really stood out to me, I would have noticed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like maybe there was a name on one of those graves, but personally, I didn't realize anything seeing that.
And then I guess like even going into the next thing is like the characters. I think the characters for me was a bit of a weak spot. If anything, just my overall like kind of the faults that I have with the show or movie. It's just that I think it deserved to be longer, and if I really wanted to love it, I feel like it could have been longer. But for what it is, it's obviously still fun. And the characters, I think they are solid. But did you have any favorites? Or
I kind of honestly agree with the characters. That's really my one fault. Well, it's like not specifically the characters, it's just the length. I mean, I like that it was like this, and for it being a movie, it would have been totally random if this opened and it was like a movie, and then all these random people walk in. It's like, here's your assignment. We don't know nothing about you. Like that would have been weird. So it can, for me personally, like just kind of get away with it a little bit more. But
that's fair.
Some of these characters here do feel like they're on screen to be killed, and it the second they walk in. You're like, I can tell that you're gonna die. If you have less dialogue, there's probably a chance you're not gonna make it to the end of this. But I mean, I liked all the main characters. I like them all, although I will say that one character looked like a mix of the disgusting Marilyn Manson and Michael Jackson, so that was pretty funny. The skinny one, that like the face kind of looked like Michael Jackson, but they're like making the stuff, I hate to say it, but Marilyn Manson. So it was pretty cool. Like I like the characters. They were definitely one of the weaker things, just because we didn't have too much time with them, which I understand, but at the same time, it is worth noting.
And even just like you mentioned, like it's almost like a slash movie in that sense. Like it has the slashing elements of like the kills and stuff like that. Like how you mentioned, like characters appear and they're kind of just there to be killed. There are a bunch of like side characters. I don't even know if we really knew any of their names really, but again, like you said, it doesn't really matter in the like looking at the entire thing. I think the standout character for me would be Man-Thing, even though he has like his screen time is little, like, but it's also a 50-minute special, so you're not going to expect too much from him. He kind of has like a very small presence, but I thought he was funny, and I had some couple of fun lines with I think it's Gail Garcia Bernal. I think that's the main character.
Yeah.
But yeah, so did you have any thoughts on Man-Thing?
I mean, is that the tree thing? I don't even know the names. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I watched this morning, but I was like, is that the name? Yeah. What is it? Man-Thing?
Man-Thing. Yeah. I don't know much about him. I know my cousin is a fan of him, and that's the only reason why I know. Like I've heard of him before, but like this is obviously his first appearance in the MCU. So it was cool.
Yeah, honestly, I think that proves it. I liked him. I thought he was funny. I thought when they're talking, he's like, "No, you can't do this." Oh yeah, of course. But I will say that one kill where he just grabs her, she's disintegrates. That was awesome. That was so cool.
And that just goes into like the brutal aspect. Like it's not too brutal. I don't want to like put an emphasis on that word, but it is for MCU standards, and I'm gonna say that a lot. I feel is like for MCU standards, it's a step in a different direction, in a new direction. Which makes it feel fresh and unique. And I think another thing was the action sequences. I think Michael Giacchino did a really good job with those in particular. Wasn't too much of like flashy editing or anything. It was just you could see everything that was going on, which was like yeah, like it's very
Yes.
important. And they were fun. But
Yeah, I agree. Like again, even with a movie that is not only like thematically, I guess, darker, but also because of the black and white, half of it is like shadows and stuff like that. And even when people are fighting in the shadows, whatever you want to call it, it still looks good. And you can still clearly tell when somebody died. This isn't like Venom all over again, where just
100%.
because a character like is a werewolf, so he's darker, like the color of, what do I even say, fur, I guess.
Yeah.
It's darker, like you can't see what it's like. No, you could tell when they kill these people. And it is it's pretty cool to see. I will say my favorite shot in the entire thing, now I didn't watch any of the trailers or anything because I didn't want to know. Like I was like I knew he was going to become a werewolf at some point, but I was like, I don't want to know how or like look out for this moment. But when he transforms into the werewolf, and it's just a shot of, what's her name, is it what's her
Eliza?
name? Eliza? I think her name's Eliza. That's what I was gonna
maybe.
say, but I could be wrong. It's a shot of her like in the cage, and you just see him in the shadow, like in the shadow against the wall. I thought that was the best shot in the entire thing. It was gorgeous.
And even just playing into that, like it doesn't show him too much. He hides in the shadows, and I feel like that just even goes to like the more, especially when you have like villains. Like this character isn't exactly a villain, but it's there to kill a bunch of people. And I think it can just make it even more menacing when they hide in the shadows and you can't really see what they look like. I kept like trying to see what he really looked like, like how characters look on like a character poster. But he hides in the shadows, and it's just kind of how they did that. That was another thing that I liked about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you barely see his face when he's the werewolf, but also I really liked his character before that because the way the actor Gail Garcia Bernal, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. I loved how he played the character with a little bit of like vulnerability. Like you could tell, I mean, we knew obviously by posters and just basic knowledge that he was going to be the werewolf because he's the main character and it's called Werewolf. And I mean, come on, they can piece two and two together. But the way you can tell that he does not enjoy this, it's not something that he takes pride in. He tries to hide it. And there's something off about him the second he shows up with all those other hunters, and he doesn't exactly say how he kills, like all that kind of stuff. I thought that was also really well done by him. I thought everybody in it was good, even if they were there just to be killed off. They were still cool for everything they did.
And even the character who he kind of plays along with, Elsa, who he kind of works together with as well, she was fun. She was pretty badass too, and I like that. But again, fairly bare bones in terms of writing for the character development. But again, that's not really like the biggest deal when you just have this one-off kind of spin-off kind of thing in the MCU. It fits.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was cool. She had the tiny bit of a backstory, like more so of backstory than I think anybody else, just with the family reasons.
Exactly.
She hasn't really been there. And I mean, props to the actor. I thought she was really great here. She had a great dynamic with our main character here, I forget his last name. Again, something I don't even know if they say it in this. I know they say Jack for sure, but I thought their connection was good. And also like she had such like a great like nervous presence once, like she knew the danger she was getting into when she had to go talk to man thing, if I'm saying that right. And then when he's like smelling her and being like, just like look me in the eye and stuff, and she does it and it works. And I thought she really pulled it off. I've probably seen her in something else, although I don't know off the top of my head, but I thought she was really great as well. I'd say for me, like one of my biggest things is something we've kind of touched on before, but it's just the fact that this feels original. Like it doesn't feel like, I mean, it's changed over the years, but it hit a certain point in like 2015-ish for the MCU where it was like the MCU formula. And obviously we've gone on past that, but for this, I mean, obviously it's going to be different because it's the only like 55-minute thing in the MCU or whatever it is, 55 minutes. But even with the cinematography, with the action, with the characters, like everything, there was something different about it. The whole overall vibe of the movie, for lack of a better term, was just cool. And getting kind of a different director's point of view was great. And people will probably complain because it's his first thing. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. But I didn't have any issues. I thought he was great. I think he has a great future as a director as well. He's really a man of all trades when it comes to it. But honestly, like, I think it was just the original nature that, like, when I went into it, I did not know what I was going to, like, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be like, I'll play it safe, it was going to be super bloody, but it was like a perfect mix of everything for the most part.
And honestly, like on that level, I knew what I was getting into because of the trailer. Like I knew that it wasn't as campy as the trailer I feel like was setting it up to be. Like it was fairly straightforward, and it just kind of went for the vibe, which is good. I like that. I think if it went a little too campy, I would have had a problem with it. But I think if you watched the trailer, you would have known what you were getting into. So it's probably good on you for staying away from it. I really liked the trailer, and I was just like on board with it after I watched it, and that's kind of what drew me to the project. And it's funny that they really didn't announce this until under a month ago, which is just kind of crazy. No, little to no marketing, but you know, we're obviously talking about it, so it obviously made some sort of mark.
Yeah, and it's got in like it's started off with like a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's gone to a 91, but it's in the 90s. So
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive for something at this point in the MCU to still get something that high.
Yeah,
I think that's impressive.
100%. And even touching on Michael Giacchino, I think I mentioned him. I thought he did a good job, and I would love to see him tackle another MCU project, whether maybe give him a feature-length film or a TV show, whatever Kevin Feige thinks would be a good fit for him. I would love to see whatever he does, or even just like another movie if it's on Marvel. I know he's a composer, but if he were to take a step back from that and just do more behind the camera work with like filmmaking, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I think he has a great eye for it and was showcased really well here. And also the score even very much felt inspired by some of those classic movies, not in like the slow moments, but in like the big, grand, very loud and aggressive, like stuff like that. Because I just watched Creature from the Black Lagoon a few nights ago, and I've watched most of those, if not all of what would be considered like the classic monster movies from Universal. So I found those connections to be really brilliant because, again, it felt original enough to work, but it also like didn't feel like it was ripping stuff off. And it's not like, I mean, I love a lot of the MCU scores, and he's done a lot of them, so it works.
And I was just happy that, because I'm not the biggest fan of like the Universal monsters. I haven't seen too many of them. I've only seen Frankenstein, I believe, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So I was a little cautiously optimistic going into it, just knowing that I'm not the biggest fan of like the black and white kind of slow movie. I know you're gonna pull up.
I'm kidding.
Those kind of monster movies I'm not the biggest fan of, but maybe I need to get more into it. And I'm glad that I enjoyed this. For what it was, I enjoyed it. If I had really any flaws with it, like I said, I think it needed, if it really wanted to make a stamp for me, could have been longer, and could have had more character development, more writing. But I can't preface this enough, and I know we've said it already. For what it is, it's a cool little entry into the MCU. If they were to do more like more Marvel presentation stuff, I'm on board for it, because more characters, and if we maybe move away from the TV formula, if they feel like this is working, that would be cool. Do you have any overall thoughts on it?
I agree with everything you've said there. I mean, I haven't kept up with the shows because as much as I enjoy a lot of them, and I think they're very good, they don't stick with me as much as some of the movies do. And it's gone to the point where it really just feels like the formula is just going over and over and over again. So I would really love for them to keep this style, I guess, up, because it helps us bring in new characters. Now, I hope they don't strictly move to this and go, we're only going to do hour-long specials. Like, this also works because it's October. It's October the 7th. It's a good time to have a werewolf thing come out. So, of course, we've had holiday specials. Like, we're going to have the Guardians of the Galaxy one. I don't know how long that's going to be, but I think that they should keep doing this, but like with caution. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree with you. And playing into different genres, I think that would be a cool spot. Like if this was B-level monster horror stuff, I'm trying to think of what else they could do. Like if they want to do it would be cool, a Marvel musical. I know like
besides Roger as a musical,
I know like DC is, I think, gonna play with that with Joker 2 possibly, and
I think how that goes.
But if Marvel wanted to do that, I don't know with what character they would do it, but I'm sure Kevin Feige, he's such a mastermind, and he, even just like stuff like this with the help of Michael Giacchino, how they brought it to life, I thought was really cool. My final question for you: where do you think we could see the future of these characters go? Could they be a follow-up to the special, or will they be in a Avengers movie like Man-Thing? Maybe he'll just kind of be in the background, or but kind of like the Werewolf. What do you think?
I was thinking about this earlier. Like, that's a great question. As soon as I finished, I spent like the whole day thinking about this because I got up earlier to watch this. And I think that, as you said, like for Man-Thing, like he might be in like a lineup for, you know, like an Endgame type thing where they pan across.
Yeah.
He's helping out, or a cool little Easter egg between like other movies, even if it's in like not a smaller movie, because really there is nothing small with the MCU anymore.
Yeah.
Besides Ant-Man. Sorry, I had to. But sorry. I think when it comes to the lead character, Jack, I think his name's Jack I was gonna say Jack Russell. Maybe that's wrong because that's like a dog. But Jack, I'll just say, or the werewolf. I could see him meeting up with other people. I wouldn't really see him joining like a team or anything, because I mean, really, he's not the antagonist of this, but he is not a good guy because he does kill people. I know he mentioned how he locks himself away and stuff like that, but I hope we see something with him. I was thinking, like, are they gonna do just Werewolf by Night 2 or something like that? Maybe they could do another thing like in a few years to kind of see where he's at. But I think that'd be so difficult to do, especially with the length. Once again, it would just kind of be like, oh, you watch it and it's over, like type thing. Like, I think if they can find something memorable to do, they should do it. But what do you think?
Honestly, I don't really know. Like, I think it was, you had an interesting point and just kind of all of it. I don't know where they would fit in like the overall Marvel universe. But I think that's why this special kind of exists. I think Kevin Feige might have been on the same wavelength and thinking like, where could, like, I don't know if we want to do a TV show or a movie, like just focused on these characters. So what could we do? And I think this hour-long nearly special, it was a good little sweet spot for them. And wherever they want to introduce them in again, I'm up for it. I
agree. I guess kind of my overall thoughts on it is that I really enjoyed it. Like, I really love this. I think it was a great time watching it. I didn't have any pacing issues, anything like that. I enjoyed the characters, more so the lead ones, because some of the other ones are more forgettable, but that's not their fault. It's just the length of it overall definitely plays into it. But I love the way it looked. It actually felt like a new kind of original, I know I've said that so much, but like unique thing here. And I'm just glad it exists. And also, as a big monster movie fan, it just helps. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, if people can go like back and be like, oh, I wonder what inspired this, or like they see an article and it's like, oh, these, you know, Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, like all these classics, and they go back and they find a new love for it. Like, I would love to see if some people do that, if they're younger especially.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a fun time talking about this. I appreciate you coming back on the channel. But if you had to give it an overall grade, I know that we have different grading systems. What would you give it? Have you put any thought to it?
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier. I think I would honestly give it a 4.5 out of 5. That would be my opinion.
If I had to give it a grade, because I just liked it and didn't love it, I would go more of a C+, because it was just like not my favorite thing. But it also wasn't the worst thing, and I enjoyed it for what it is. I liked what it gave us for just an hour-long special. I thought it was cool, and for the spooky season, it was a fun little addition.
Yep, I think that's the best way to put it. I'm not mad about your grade. Like, obviously I don't agree, but like, I see what you're saying and stuff like that. And it's not like, what are you saying? You should have loved this. Like, this will have a totally different impact on everyone. Like, some people will see it and love it. Some people will hate it. What the hell is this? And I think this will just affect everyone differently. And I'd love to see people's reactions. If you have seen it, tell us down below what you think.
Yeah, tell us in the comments. But Ewan, thank you again for coming on the channel. Remember, guys, if you want to follow Ewan, all of his links will be down below in the description. Remember to subscribe to his channel. Make sure to check him out. He's a great dude, if you couldn't tell already from this video.
And of course, thank you for having me on the channel. It's always fun to talk to you. Obviously, if you guys are not subscribed, don't follow him on every single thing he has. I don't know what you're doing, but we typically do a lot. We've done a bunch of live streams. I think this is our first fully recorded video, so you guys don't get to see the behind the scenes stuff, but this was a lot of fun, and it's cool that this is, I think, the first time where and probably the only time where we'll talk about a Marvel thing and our opinions are flipped from what they normally are. Normally you love it and I'm like, yeah, but now
Yeah.
I love it and you're like, yeah. So it's kind of
Yeah.
nice.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to give a big thank you again to Ewan for coming on the channel. Remember, guys, all of our links will be linked down below in the description. Make sure to go subscribe to his channel. If you enjoyed the spoiler review breakdown, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to do more of these videos. Let me know down below in the comment section if you enjoyed it. Make sure to give this video a like and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any further videos. As always, look forward to more videos coming soon. My name is Ben. People call me Mitter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.